Okay, 9.4 notes, multiplying and dividing rational expressions. Rational expressions just basically means we're going to have fractions. All right. So if you are good at factoring, this should be easy. If you're having trouble with factoring, this might be a little difficult. All right. So example 1, we're going to simplify a rational expression. So here's our rational expression. Now, the way you simplify rational expressions is you factor them out and then you cancel out the common factors. So in the top, we got x squared minus 4x minus 12. No leading coefficient, so we're just going to factor it out. So we do two sets of parentheses. X is in the front. Last sign's a minus sign, so signs are different. And my factors are 12 that when I subtract it, I get a 4, will be 6 and 2. And 6 has to go in with the minus sign because the middle number is minus. So 6 and 2. All right, and then the bottom you should recognize that is the difference of perfect squares. So all we have to do is factor it out. X is in the front, signs are different, and then square root of 4 is 2 and 2. And you should be able to see right now your x plus 2 and x plus 2 will cancel out and leave you with your answer of x minus 6 over x minus 2. All right. All right, this next one, the easiest way for you to do it might be to just multiply across and then simplify it. All right, so we start with the numbers. 5 times 6 gives us 30. X to the second times x to the third gives us x to the fifth. And y to the first times y to the second gives us y to the third. And then in the bottom, 2 times 10 is 20. X, nothing over here, so x. Y to the third times y to the first gives us y to the fourth. All right, now we're going to simplify it. All right, start with the numbers. 30 and 20 both divisible by 10, so this becomes 3 over 2. All right, the x's, we have 1 in the bottom and we have 5 in the top. So get rid of the 1 in the bottom and take 1 away from the 1 in the top. So that leaves us with 4. So we got x to the fourth. All right, in the bottom, in the y's. The y's, we got y to the third over y to the fourth. Again, the smaller number, there's 3 of these, so get rid of all 3 of these and then take 3 of these away, which leaves us with y to the first or just y. And there's our answer. All right. Next, we have multiplying rational expressions. All right, so again, all this really is factoring out. So if we start with this one, notice we can factor a 4x out of both of those. So factor 4x leaves us with 1 minus x. All right, and then in the bottom, no leading coefficient, 3 terms. So again, 2 sets of parentheses. X is in the front. Last sign's a minus, so signs are different. And the factors are 3. When you subtract, you get a 2, would be 3 and 1. And this time the middle number is positive, so the bigger number has to go with the positive. So 3 goes here and 1 goes there. All right, factored that out. Now we got times. Now we're going to factor this out. So again, no leading coefficient. So 2 sets of parentheses. X is in the front. Signs are different. And then we got the factors of 6 that when you subtract it, you get a 1, which would be 3 and 2. And the bigger one has to go with plus. So 3 and 2. And the bottom, we can't factor anything out of that, so we just leave it as 4x. All right. So now we look to see what we can cancel out. Well, right away I see I can get rid of a 4x with a 4x. I have an x plus 3 and an x plus 3. All right, now I'm going to change the order because I got an x minus 1 down here. So if I change the order, it's a negative x plus 1, all right, which isn't quite this. But if I factor a negative 1 out of that, so I make it negative 1, factor that out, it leaves me with x minus 1. All right, now I have an x minus 1 and an x minus 1. So these can cancel out, all right? And then it still leaves me with a negative 1. So now on the top, I have negative 1 times x minus 2. And in the bottom, everything canceled out. So that would be my answer. So I would just distribute that and get negative x plus 2. And that would be my answer. All right. So again, if you're good at factoring, this is going to be pretty easy. All right, as long as you're good at factoring. All right, next we have multiplying by a polynomial. This one might be a little harder, especially if you don't know your difference of two cubes. There's our difference of two cubes formula. So I got x plus 3. This 8x cubed, I'm going to do it off to the side just so you remember. We have 8x cubed minus 1, so we got to change that to 2 cubed, x cubed minus 1 cubed, which gives us 2x cubed minus 1 cubed. Now I can factor it out because now I have my 2 cubes and I have my a and my b. All right, so I use that formula. Again, the formula was, it's the one with the minus sign. So it's a, which is 2x, minus b, which is 1, times a squared. So I got to square the 2 and the x, so I get 4x squared, plus a times b, 2x, and then plus b squared, which is just 1. All right, and now that's going to be times this, and I don't have to factor that out because I can see that I already have that, and it's going to cancel out. So I cancel out this with this, and that leaves me with my answer of x plus 3 over 2x minus 1, and there's my answer. All right, so it's all kinds of factoring here. All right, so you need to know all your factoring stuff. All right, example 5. Example 5. This one is a division one. So the only thing you have to remember here is your keep, change, flip. But we're still doing the same thing. So let's start off with the 5x. Can't do anything with it, so I just write it down. Over 3x minus 12, I can factor a 3 out of that. So I factor 3 out, leaves me with x minus 4. Change that to multiplication, and now we're going to flip this, so we're going to start with the bottom. 3 terms, and I factor it. X is in the front. The last sign's a plus sign, so signs are the same, and they're both negative. And then my factors of 4 that add up, or factors of 8 that add up to 6 are 2 and 4. All right, and then that's over. And then in the top, I can factor an x out of that. So I get x times x minus 2. There we go. Now we can simplify. So what can we cancel out? Let's see. I got an x minus 4 and an x minus 4. I got an x minus 2 with an x minus 2. And then I have this x with this x, because there's no plus or minus sign, so I can cancel those out. So those cancel out. And that leaves me with 5 over 3. So that's my answer. All right. Next, we have this one. Again, it's a division one. All right. We got a leading coefficient, though, this time. All right. So factoring this out, again, leading coefficient. I put my 6x and my 6x. All right, remember we make that box. Multiply 6 times 3 is 18. And I went to factors of 18. When I subtract it, I get a 7, which would be 9 and 2. And signs are different. The bigger one's got to get the plus. All right, can we factor anything out of that? And the answer is yes, a 3. So that leaves us with 2x plus 3. And then this, we can factor a 2 out, which leaves me with a 3x minus 1 over 6x squared. Change this to multiplication, and then flip, and we can factor an x out of that. All right. Now, what can we cancel out? Well, it looks like we can cancel out a 2x plus 3 and a 2x plus 3, and that looks like it. So we got 3x minus 1 times 1, which leaves us with 3x minus 1. All right, and then 6x squared times this x. Don't forget this x. So that gives us 6x cubed. And there's our answer. All right, one last one. All right, when we have all the operations, we have multiplication and we have division. Again, the division, the multiplication stays the same, so can't factor anything out of x. Can't factor anything out of x plus 5. Times, can't factor anything out of that. Put it over 1. Change this to multiplication and flip this one. So now this x plus 5 goes on top. And then we factor that out. Again, that's easy. That's the difference of two squares. So again, two sets of parentheses. We got 3x plus 5, 3x minus 5. All right, so we have everything all factored out. Now we can cancel. So I got an x plus 5 with an x plus 5. I got a 3x minus 5 with a 3x minus 5. And that's it. So in the top, I just have an x. And then the bottom, I got a 3x plus 5. And that would be my answer. And that was the last example. All right. So now, your homework for tonight. We have this worksheet. All right. The top ones, all you're doing is simplifying them. So again, just factor them out. All right. On the bottom, you're multiplying. So again, factor them out and simplify. Except this one doesn't factor. It just multiply across and then simplify. And then you got your division, and then you got your mixture problems. All right. So let's just do. I want to get this one. So let's do the odds. All right. Let's do 1 to 15 odd. All right. And that's it.